this is Brendan Wilmington from the Left Turn Network, and welcome back to another Lumen Stock Car Invitational Series race, season number 4, race number 16. We are here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Hoosier 500, the second of 3 crown jewel races on the schedule. We are officially past halfway in the season, this of course being race number 16 of the season, and we are closing into that regular season finale at Oregon as well. Just a few more races left to go. Things have really been shaking up in the points as of late, but there's a lot of things to talk about coming into this race because obviously this is a big race. This is a very historic racetrack, the most historic racetrack, at least in the United States, that we race on. And this is obviously a big race that everybody wants to win, but you've also got that point situation in mind that we didn't really focus on too much last time just because of how the full season points were. But now that we got the chase in here, things are a little bit more dramatic heading into this race. A bad run here, depending on where you are, could end up spelling the end of your chances of competing for the championship. Although I think at this point the points are close enough and the wild card is far down enough to where it is possible that somebody that is far down in points could definitely start a turnaround at this point. There are still 5 races to go, so it is very much possible. Joining me in the booth today is Rashia Mahendra for, I believe, the 3rd time this season, if you include the Clash. And Rashia, this track, again, very unique, very historic, and definitely going to be a fun race to watch for sure. Legends win here. So what do you think is the key to winning on this racetrack?
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. And when it comes to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think I can sum it up in just one sentence. Everybody wants to win at Indianapolis, whether it's in the stock cars, in the open wheel cars, or even on when it comes to endurance racing on the road courses. Winning at Indianapolis is one of those bucket list achievements that everyone wants to check off on their list when it comes to career achievements. And we'll see what happens here, but 36 drivers here will come in with a chance to tick off that box on their checklist here. But when it comes to stock car racing in Indianapolis specifically, it is going to be all about track position and strategy. You do want to start up front here. A good starting position will help you both manage the traffic at the beginning of the race, as things do tend to get hairy at this track. This track being a rectangle-shaped oval means that it gets a little awkward when it comes to making moves to overtake in these LCR stock cars. And so in the beginning of the race, it's all about kind of managing the traffic and making sure you don't get into an accident early on, because that's something that can easily happen at this racetrack, given how the irregular shape and kind of how odd of a fit stock cars at Indianapolis is. But once you get past that point, it's going to be, if it does go green for most of the race, it's going to be a strategy-heavy race here. I believe it's a 50-lap race, and with fuel runs going up to about 18 laps or so, that's going to be a little bit kind of close when it comes to the fuel run. I think doing some rough math here, if you divide 50 by 3 in a 2-stopper, that would be about 16 to 17 laps, leaning towards 17 laps minimum per run. So if you do get a flurry of cautions that kind of put some of these drivers in a position where they have to cut it close on fuel, definitely look out for strategy shenanigans being one of the main talking points as we get onto the race here.
Yes, absolutely. The pit strategy is very important, and that's what won Zach Dearman the race last year. Of course, last year's race went caution-free, but that was a bit of an anomaly, as the prior 2 Indy races that we had did not go caution-free, had a couple of incidents in each of those races, and it's very possible that we'll get some yellows. Of course, if you have kept up with Left Turn Network this season, you might have seen the Minoan race highlights that were posted to the channel back in April. That was at Indianapolis, and that race had 6 yellow flags. But of course, that's a different car. That's a different set of cars to this one. But still, that could be something we watch out for, especially with the kind of slick track conditions that we have today with the warmer temperature. But let's go over your points situation right now. George Bryant has a very comfortable 50-point lead. I think we can be safe to assume that he is probably going to be in contention for the chase here. He is up on the cutoff by 84 points, so he's pretty well safe. And I'd say the other two drivers that are pretty safe are Corbin Taps in third in points and Jacob Lopez in eighth in points. They both have 3 wins apiece, including Corbin Taps winning last week at Pocono. And Pocono's a very similar track to Indianapolis. Of course, one of Pocono's corners is literally modeled after Indianapolis, the tunnel turn in turn 2. So if you did good at Indy, it's safe to say that you'll probably do good at Pocono as well. But other drivers to watch out for, Akiya Tajima is up on the cutoff by 36 points. So he's in a pretty good spot right now, and then it starts to get a little bit hairy from fourth on back. Tyler Landry is currently fourth in points. Alnita Kim is fifth. Billy Smith, Charlie McCarron, the aforementioned Jacob Lopez, Holly Martin, and Zach Dearman round out the top 10 in points. Dearman's only 1 point up. Martin's only 2 points up. Lopez only 3 up. McCarron only 5 up, and Smith only 7 up. So of course that little region of points is very close. Then you got Jake Sidney, Shauna Everett, Kate Summers, Adrian Wheeler, and Nathan Buchanan all just outside of the cutoff. You got a bit of a drop off after that, though. But we also got to keep an eye on that second wildcard battle, which is still raging on further down in the points. Tim Berry still has it. JB Chanot is 7 points back of him. And Karina Willis Calloway, technically still in that race, 34 points back. So, a lot of stuff could happen. Of course, that whole battle down there gets eliminated if somebody with a win falls out of the top 10, or if someone ahead of them gets a win that doesn't happen already. So that is something to monitor. That cutoff battle is important, not just for the drivers racing for the cutoff, but also those drivers down to 22nd, 23rd in points that are battling for that second wild card. So Rasha, after we're looking at all of that, I see Lakin Herndon and Tim Berry, who ran up at front at Denver, running up here. And then, of course, we mentioned Pocono was the last race that we ran. We have run a lot of large super speedways here as of late. Who are some drivers that you're looking at that have done well in those races that could maybe break the mold here and take the win here at Indy?
Yeah, when it comes to the large flat super speedways, they're all different in their own ways, but I feel like drivers that tend to do well at those tracks, it does kind of track towards Indianapolis as well, being a kind of similar looking track, of course. Looking at the results of some of these drivers, of course, you've already mentioned Tim Berry, who's won at Denver, has kind of put his season back on track with that win, sitting in that wildcard 2 spot. But given how close the points are between him and JB Chanot, I mean, 7 points separate those two drivers, but that's 4 positions between those two. That's the difference between 22nd and 26th right now, which shows just how close the points are kind of throughout the upper mid pack, I'd say, kind of in that. Even dragging Shauna Everett up to wildcard 1, that's only 37 points ahead of Tim Berry with 5 races to go, including this one. I think we could see some big point swings regardless of what happens here. And, of course, we saw Corbin Taps win at Pocono. George Bryan and Akiya Tajima also ran well at Pocono, it looks like. Finished 6th and 7th as well. Some other drivers that got top 5s. Nathan Buchanan finished 5th at Pocono. That might be a driver to look out for. We can see him right there on our starting lineup on the inside of row 2, starting in 3rd place. It'd be very impressive if Buchanan could make the chase after missing out on a race DNQ'd at Fontana earlier this year, of course. I think that would be rather impressive if the 15 could take home a win here.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to watch out for the Patriot Racing Inc. cars. I think all 3 of them are pretty good on these style of racetracks. Brian Buchanan and also Billy Smith in the 88. Let's go ahead and go over your starting lineup here. Like we mentioned, it's Lakin Herndon and Tim Berry, 2 of the best LSCI drivers. Starting on the front row, they had a battle at Denver that got cut short due to an accident, a little spin that brought out the yellow and ended the race early there. Holly Martin and Nathan Buchanan in row 2. Both these drivers I would say desperately, but they could really use a win here to help their chances of getting into the top 10. Martin's already in the top 10, but I mean, I think Martin's done a lot of impressive stuff with NH Motorsports this year. She's been very good at qualifying, and that's really been helping her down the road here. Row number 3, Shauna Everett, the Lumen 500 winner, and the number 6 car of Lori Jackson. Row number 4 is Alnita Kim in the 79, and the 78 of Andrew Kreider starting up in the top 10. Very impressive qualifying run for him, as Streamline Racing got both their cars into the race this week. Then we've got the 85 car of Charlie McCarron and the 81 of Jack Gino in row 5. Row 6, we've got defending winner of this race, Zach Dearman, the closer himself, and the 92 car of Adrienne Fearson. Then in row 7, we've got Darren Walker and Ashley Blake, pair of owner drivers. Darren Walker announced this week that this will be his final season in LSCI after he has had a struggle of a year. 32nd in points compared to the 3-win, 4th in points run that he had last year. Had a major fall off, and he is apparently calling it a career after this one. So that'll make things interesting in the silly season part, but we're not quite there yet. JB Chanot in the number 29 alongside the 45 car of James Harvin. And then it's Akiya Tajima and the 2 car of Kobe Hollenbeck. A lot of drivers high up in points right back here in the soup around 20th place, including Corbin Taps, the most recent winner, alongside the 3 of George Bryan, the points leader. The 66 of Tyler Landry, the entire top 4 in points, starting all right next to each other, and alongside the 88 of Billy Smith. Then you've got Kate Summers in the 32 and the 70 car of Damon Kirby, Jake Sidney in the 19 and the 55 of Michael Harvin. Then it's the 24 of Cooper Spur and the 41 of Karina Willis Callaway. Adrian Wheeler in the number 40, another driver trying to get into the top 10. He's had a pretty up and down season. Alongside him is the 10 of Simon Lawrenson. Then we got the 58 of Joanna Clark and the 98 of Kevin DuPont. The 50 car of Jacob Lopez alongside the 9 of Ryan Silva. And rounding out the field is Vinny Scholes in the 62 and JT Boyd in the 77. We had 3 DNQs from this race. Mauricia Vebelst DNQ'd the second Martin Swain race team car, the number 20. Freya von Lundquist DNQ'd the second Connie Twins car entering this race. And Duncan Ward tried to get into this race in an extra checker flag racing car, but missed the field by 2/1000ths of a second. So the 4-time amateur series winner will not be racing here at Indianapolis. It's going to be 50 laps here at Indy. And like was mentioned earlier, we will likely have 2 pit stops in this race as the fuel window is about 18-ish laps. So it's going to get interesting. We'll see if we get any cautions or not. Of course, last year went caution-free, but that's not pretty typical of this racetrack. So things could definitely get chaotic here at the 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Drivers, start your engines!
And the field will roll off the backstretch here at the Brickyard. And Rasha kind of went over who we should be looking out for this race, but who are you actually going to pick to win this one?
You know what? I think just for fun here, let's go with the 1 of Tim Berry. I feel like it would be on character for him to claw back his season after a horrible start. Kind of a horrible first half of the season, but I feel like since then that 1 car has kind of started to turn things around a little bit. Still very inconsistent when it comes to results, but I feel like that win at Denver might be the catalyst he needs to bring up the momentum for the rest of the year.
Tim Berry has won here before. He won here 2 years ago, back in Season 3. So he knows how to get it done here. And of course, 2 wins at Denver, so he's good at the 2+ mile ovals. But he's going to have to fend off 35 other cars as he starts on the front row with Lakin Herndon. And we are Green Flag Racing here at the Brickyard for the Hoosier 500.
Fairly aggressive by Laurie Jackson to move to the inside immediately there.
Yeah, Tim Berry losing some ground on that outside lane. That's not what you want to see. We're going 3 wide off of turn number 2, but they are going to make it out. That's not necessarily a thing you want to see on the first lap.
Yeah, the outside is typically at a disadvantage on these restarts, obviously. But that only is kind of relevant for half the field on this initial start.
Oh, bit of a close call there between Alnita Kim and Zach Dearman. Oh, is that the 3 of George Bryan has found the inside? He pulled a bit of a slider there on the 45 of James Harvin. Got to keep an eye on him as the points leader. And Lakin Herndon will lead the first lap here with Nathan Buchanan right on his tail. Laurie Jackson not too far behind. Uh-oh, I heard someone in the wall. It's Kim. Kim is up into the outside wall, and that's going to bring out the yellow on lap number 2. It looks like she was the only one involved, so they're going to be racing back here, and that is unfortunate for the 5th place driver in points. And this is the first time that she has raced at Indianapolis, so maybe a bit of inexperience showing there. But here comes Nathan Buchanan trying to get underneath the 39, and it looks like he might be able to
Ooh.
take the lead from him as
Just
they
kind of
come back to the caution.
Watch out for Lori Jackson as well. Nope, she's going to tuck in behind the 39 here, but that's an aggressive move right there. And that's what I was kind of looking towards in the pre-race. Most of the time, the best opportunities to overtake on this track are on starts and restarts. So you're going to see drivers, I think, be very aggressive on these starts. And sometimes that's going to bite them, as we saw with the 79 here. We'll have to see what happened, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another one of these occur in the race.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for the Columbia Motorsports driver. Alnita Kim, of course, had that flying start to the season and then had a bit of a tumble right afterwards. It kind of leveled out by now, but heavy damage on the Mobil 1 Toyota. And here on lap number 3, I'm going to be curious to see if anyone maybe tries to pit here and maybe cut it close. I think it's a little too I think it's too early to try and cut off a pit stop here under yellow, but we might still see some cars maybe towards the back of the field come in and try and get a bit of a tire advantage on these guys. Of course, they only ran 2 laps under green, but tires are very important at Indy. They wear out quite considerably, and it does indeed look like the leaders are coming in and pitting, but we do have a couple of cars
split
staying
strategy,
out.
yeah. More
Zach
takers
Dearman.
than Zach Dearman. Looks like the 16 of Corbin Taps as well, staying out.
I saw Fearson as well. And the 3 of George Bryant. All staying out, but everyone else... Oh, Lopez
60.
is also staying out. But everyone else is coming in for new tires.
Yeah, that's a lot more takers than I thought would take at lap 4. You're not really cutting off a pit stop here, and well, I guess for these cars here, the track position gambit's going to be worth it for them. As for everyone else, we'll see how that works out. Those tires will be slightly fresher, of course. We'll see what kind of strategies they're taking here. Maybe they're only taking a few tires, or maybe they're only topping up on fuel. Oh yeah, these seem to be splashes.
Yeah, these are all splash and goes. No tires for these guys. They're just trying to make sure that they're good on fuel.
Yeah, trying to hit their fuel number. That makes sense. It's a very fuel-dependent racetrack when it comes to strategy. So every little bit of fuel counts, I think, for these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Repairs being done on the number 79. We'll see if she's able to get back out on the racetrack. And it looks like she will. They did a good job of repairing that right side, but still pretty damaged on the front and rear. Well, the first caution of the race.
End. Yeah, looks like they left the rear end on the pit box.
Yeah, no more rear end on the 79. But first caution of the race here, coming out on lap number 2. And we'll show you what happened to bring out that first caution, then we'll get you back to the restart here at Indy. First caution of the day, right at the end of lap 1, just completing it. Going into turn 1 on lap number 2, you're going to see Alnita Kim in the 79 coming into the corner, and she's just not clear. 18 was there, and she's going to go around here in turn number 1. She's going to get into the wall there. Pretty significant contact there for the 79. And thankfully locks the brakes up so that she doesn't slide down into traffic. But not that much banking on this track anyways, but even regardless, making sure that no one else gets involved. Very heads-up driving there by the 79 in that aspect, but just a rookie mistake going into turn 1 there for Alnita Kim. Of course, this is her first time on this racetrack, and it's a shame that it had to end so early. Well, maybe not end. Her chance of winning is over, but she'll probably still be able to keep going after that, given the damage it's significant, but it's probably not significant enough to take her out. But she's at least able to drive it back to the pits. But that is unfortunate for Alnita Kim. She's likely going to fall a little bit further in the points. That could spell bad news for the 79 team, but thankfully she has that win at Homestead to fall back on, even if she does fall too far down the points. But just a bad break there for the 79, just wasn't clear.
And Indianapolis Motor Speedway tends to prey on the inexperience, and that's exactly what happens to Alnita Kim here. Just came down when she wasn't clear, and that's gonna put quite a bit of rear end damage to that 79. And while I don't think that damage is going to be terminal, that will kind of end her chances of a competitive run here today at Indy.
Welcome back here at Indianapolis. Wrapping up our first caution of the day, we're going to get to the restart on lap number 6 of 50. 5 cars did not come down the pit lane and top off on fuel. That would be Zach Dearman, Corbin Taps, Adrian Fearson, the 3 of George Bryan, and the 50 of Jacob Lopez. The first one to come in is the 15 of Buchanan, but keep in mind none of these guys took tires, so they won't have a tire advantage. We have a bit of a situation deeper in the field. Tyler Landry ran into the back of Ashley Blake under yellow, and then even more cars kind of got into almost like a Daytona style smash up in the back as they were all lining up on the back straightaway. So we've got a few cars with damage like the 9, the 62, the 98. I would expect the 41 as well. I would expect those cars that have front end damage to be more affected by that than the ones with rear damage, but we'll have to keep an eye on how fast they are. They did not come down to try and fix the damage. Pace car is going to come down the pit lane, and Zach Dearman, who won this race last year, trying to go back-to-back here, got some good track position by staying out, but he's going to have a bit of a different fuel strategy than everyone else. Green flag is back in the air, and we are racing once again here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Pretty orderly at the front here, at the front of the restart, I should say. Pretty much everyone's single file. First move looks like being made by Laurie Jackson, but otherwise very calm right now.
You see the 66 with that front end damage. We're watching those cars to see how much speed they've lost, and the 66 does appear to be a little bit down on pace compared to where he was before.
Yeah, definitely in terms of raw power, I think lost a little bit of horsepower with that. 85 seems to not be as affected with that rear end damage as we expected, I think.
Most of the cars with front end damage aren't doing too bad, but we'll have to see what happens as the race goes on. Here comes Corbin Taps trying to look for win number 4, which would tie for the record in the Cup Series with his teammate Tyler Landry last season. And then, of course, Duncan Ward has won 4 of the amateur races this season as well, so trying to become the 3rd driver to win 4 races this season, but got a long ways to go before we know of that, as these top 2 tried to pull away like what we saw Buchanan and Herndon do. Speaking of Buchanan, he has moved up 1 spot up to P5. It looks like Jacob Lopez has lost a few spots up on that outside lane and is settled back towards the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I expect here right now. Just some smaller moves being made. You want to take these cars out one position at a time, basically, at this track. It seems like Lopez is struggling for pace more than these other drivers who stay it out for fuel right now. But clearly, with the way where the 50 was before the caution, obviously still a net gain of positions right now.
Yeah, Lopez was way in the back of the field, started outside the top 30, so he's still in good shape, although, again, still plummeting down the order as the 29 tries to get underneath him, and turn 3 slides up and was not able to get underneath the 50 car, but we got some jockeying up here. Adrian Fearson stuck up on that outside, and Nathan Buchanan is definitely making up positions. I said to watch out for the Patriot Racing cars, and we got 1 in 3rd and 1 in 4th right now, so they're looking like they're in pretty good shape, but it's still Dearman and Taps out in front.
Taps is looking around, trying to think about making the move, but hasn't really tried to execute on it yet. You can see him just taking that little bit of a tighter line in 1 and 2, just looking around, maybe trying to see if he can kind of make the 18 bobble a little bit, maybe work the air.
Appears that is what he is doing. These are 2 of the better drivers on the big ovals, so it's not surprising to see them up front here. Of course, Dearman's win this year came at Iowa, which is definitively not a big oval, but we did see Taps win at Pocono, trying to go 2 in a row for the 2nd time this year. And that has never been done, I know that. And back when he won 2 in a row, that had never been done either in the Cup Series. And then, of course, Lopez one-upped him by winning 3 in a row. But here comes Taps. He's going to move to the inside of Zach Dearman, and he's going to take the spot. And the Chevy train is rolling on the bottom because here comes the Patriot Racing teammates of Brian and Buchanan to get by the Ford of Zach Dearman. And Shauna Everett in the 57, still up here inside the top 5, also trying to get it rolling there as the 18 has no help up on the top. Everett's going to maybe peek 3 wide. She might go 3 wide here as Dearman gets pushed up out of the groove. She's trying to stick the nose under Buchanan, but that is an ill-advised move, and she was not able to do it. And thank goodness that she didn't end up trying that, because that could have been very bad going into turn 3. But she is going to get by Buchanan now, or at least attempt to get by him on the inside. Going into turn number 1.
Yeah, and Indianapolis is, despite it being a big oval, kind of works like a short track that way, where most of the time you want to stick to that inside line, because if you're on that outside, you're going to get freight trained by a lot of cars, kind of all working the draft to their advantage right here. And we're seeing that happen right now with Buchanan, and we saw that with the 18, of course, as well.
Okay, you see the 18 now at the back of this little pack up here at the front. Shout out to Jack Gino and Tim Barry, who have gotten themselves into this pack. Here comes Herndon trying to get to the inside of Shauna Everett, the Lumen 500 winner. They're going to make contact in turn number 4. Just a little brush, but definitely a bit of a scary moment right there, and that's going to hold up everyone behind, and that's really going to help Corbin Taps and George Bryan, who are pulling away from the pack.
Yeah, Everett tried to close the door there, but was just a few milliseconds too late, and that could have been a disaster right there. But she's going to get shuffled out back to the back of this line again. Probably right behind the 6 of Lori Jackson. Not unless she sends it 3 wide.
Lori Jackson's trying 3 wide, but the momentum's not there. That's the second time the 57's been doored in as many laps.
Yeah, that one was more or less a matter of circumstances. The 18 now looks to make a move on Tim Barry in the 1.
To the inside, trying to go to P7 here underneath the 1 of Tim Barry, or it would be P6 actually. He's got his teammate Jack Gino right in front of him. Gino has had a very quiet and very uneventful season here. Has not really gotten that close to a win, but has not really been terrible this year either. But just outside the top 20 in points, he definitely would love to have a win here at Indianapolis, as he and Dearman are both going to get by the Pacific Racing number 92 of Adrienne Pearson. It looks like Tim Barry's going to try and join them down there on the inside lane. Herndon is trying to catch up to the top 2. These two had as much of a 1.5 second lead over the 3rd place car, but Herndon is in their draft and trying to catch up to them. And now the Hudson cars are going to go side by side for 4th. Adrienne Pearson going to try and go high there, but it's not really going to help her any. But there is now a gap down there.
Yeah, Pearson helped out Dearman a little bit there by kind of at least feigning a 3-wide move that forced Gino up to the very high line there. That's kind of helped her get that position from Gino as well, just following the 18 right now. But
not that great of a run through the corner, though.
Yeah, this battle for 4th now, I guess, is very vicious. Moves are being made all over the place in this little pack here, and that's dragged a lot of cars into it.
Yeah, Adrienne Pearson has had a very limited schedule this year with Pacific Racing, but every race she's been in, her worst finish is 11th. So she has been very good in that part-time role, and it appears that that's what is best for her, because a couple of years ago, you might remember she was part-time for, Lori Jackson and Jacob Lopez. Lopez got on the brakes there as he almost hooked the 6 in turn number 4.
Yeah, that was very close to disaster there. It looked like Lopez was going to spin the 6 out in front of at least 4 or 5 cars, but disaster averted for now, as 50 is now going to lose quite a few spots. And looking at that 85, I think Charlie McCarron with that rear end damage hasn't really affected her. There's another close
Tyler
save there
Landry. Tyler Landry's still up here as well, even with the front end damage. He's still in 19th place, so he's still hanging in there. Some other cars with damage, like the 62 and the 98, are also kind of hanging in there. And all these none of those drivers are actually like losing the draft, except for Alnita Kim, who has significantly more damage than them, because of course she got turned in turn 1 into the wall. But it's good to know that at least that damage doesn't seem to be affecting them too much, maybe affecting their ability to make up positions, but at least not taking them completely out of contention. Tim Barry going underneath Adrienne Pearson. I was gonna say that Fearson a couple of years ago was part-time for Blake Everett Motorsports and did very good in that role. So it appears that, oh my goodness, the sixes once again almost hooking someone in turn 2. She does not want me talking about the 92.
It seems that every time we go on a tangent here, Lori Jackson comes up and tries a bold move and kind of takes our attention away.
Yeah, Lori Jackson, she's desperate. She's way down in the points, and this time, JB Cheneau almost did it to her.
Goodness. And Cheneau's one of those drivers that's in a points battle with Barry as well, so she needs every position as well.
She sees Barry a few spots ahead of her. She knows she has to catch that one car. And as we go up further in the pack, every position is worth more points.
Yeah, this is now a battle for 5th now, as the top 4 have kind of broken away through this. But look at all of this battling has dragged pretty much the entire mid-pack in.
Yeah, you got Billy Smith, Jake Sidney, Kate Summers, Charlie McCarron, all up here. Darren Walker as well. We mentioned him at the start of the show and how this is going to be his final season. He's having a solid run out here. Got his teammate right behind him. So we'll see what that 8 is able to do. Here comes Jack Gino in the 81. He's going to get past the one of Tim Berry. Pearson's trying to pull away here as it looks like Lakin Herndon actually got by George Bryan for P2. That's giving Corbin Taps a bit of a lead, but you don't want that big of a lead here at Indy because they could just draft up to you and set up for a run. It's kind of like at Daytona, and really any track where the draft is that much of a deal, you'll definitely see that you don't want to get out too far ahead. And look at what lap it is. We're on lap number 18. We are approaching the fuel window. I'd expect the drivers that didn't come in under that last caution, like Corbin Taps, like George Bryan, to come in and possibly come in this lap. But drivers like Lakin Herndon and Jack Gino are going to stay out for a little bit longer. That's exactly what we're going to see.
Yep, there it is.
Here comes Taps, here comes Bryan, here comes Dearman, here comes Fearson. All came in and pitted. And Lopez also. All of the cars that did not pit under the lap 2 caution coming in here. And we're a few laps away from these guys also coming in, and that has given Lakin Herndon a massive, almost 4-second lead on the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily bad either, because that's the thing. You either want to hold a close lead, because then that lets you kind of maintain the draft, or you want to maintain a gap that's so big that nobody can catch you with a draft. And that's what the 39 has right now, basically.
That and clean air as well.
Yeah, those cars from second on are going to be fighting each other right now, pretty much the rest of the way until their pit stops.
See when Herndon decides to come in, he's going to stay out here. Maybe you would expect him in around lap 21 or lap 22. Oh, Barry's coming in now.
Yeah,
Barry's going to try and he's going to try and undercut
another car's
them.
Coming in there.
Kobe Hollenbeck. That's two prior winners.
Silva.
2 prior winners at this racetrack. Hollenbeck won here in season number 2, and Barry won here in season number 3. So interesting.
Yeah, I will say that coming in during that caution, if anything, it gives you flexibility. It lets you kind of decide when to pit in this kind of window. I wouldn't say it necessarily chops off a pit stop. I think everyone's still on a 2-stopper, but it gives you that window of opportunity to be able to take the undercut or potentially run long a little bit, try to catch a caution even. And as we all know, that kind of tends to change things when it comes to racing here at Indianapolis.
This 3 car is kind of messing with these cars behind. Lori Jackson and Jack Gino. Here comes Herndon. He's coming in this lap. And Everett is also coming in. So is Billy Smith in the 88. McCarron, Kreider, Landry, and others all coming in. And this is going to be a good opportunity for drivers like Landry to fix that damage. Maybe get some of that speed back in the car. That'll give Lori Jackson the lead. She's battling with George Bryan, who's on the tail end of the lead lap. Already just came in and pitted a couple laps ago. Of course, the rest of these guys are going to be coming in and pitting within the next 2 or 3 laps as well. But maybe not the best to get kind of stuck behind the 3 car here for the 6 and the 81.
And that's the thing with taking the undercut at Indianapolis, is that you don't necessarily fall a lap down when you come in for a pit stop, and that kind of makes it closer to, well, like a Pocono, where it kind of works off of road course strategy in a lot of ways.
And I believe the entire rest of the field is coming in this lap, so this will
Yeah.
cycle out.
Checking in, there's Herndon coming out right now off the exit of turn 2. Taps is there. Taps will inherit the lead back, I think, but Herndon's gonna be right back to being very close with Brian, I think. He's gonna come out behind. That's the undercut working a little bit.
Here's the thing. For these first couple laps of this cycle, the tire's going to need to break in for Herndon. He's going to lose time to the 16 and the 3. But if he has the draft with him and that tire advantage, then he could potentially close back up on them. But I think the 16 and 3 have played the strategy pretty well. And here comes everybody else as they are wrapping up their pit stops, led by Jack Gino in the 81. Slow pit stop for Darren Walker, and he's going to bleed a lot of spots. That's unfortunate for him. We were just pointing out how good of a run he was having, but not looking very good for him anymore. But still plenty of race left. Still a lot of things that could happen. We're not even halfway through just yet. Oh, I don't like this. This is a very hairy merge right here.
Yeah. This is kind of a mess of cars here.
So
they'll be fine, yeah.
Gino and Buchanan pitted the latest, so they've got the freshest tires. So we'll see if they'll be able to take advantage of that here within the first half of this run, because I feel like, Buchanan tried to dive on the 81. I was going to say, I think that as the run goes on, the tires will even out, and that advantage will kind of go away. So they really need to take advantage of these laps where they do have that advantage. And I tell you what, that 3 of George Bryan's closed in on the back of Corbin Taps. I mean, this is 2 of our top 3 in points, and, they both started in the mid-pack, but they made that strategy call to stay out under the first caution, and it has paid dividends for them.
Yeah, and right now we'll also want to keep an eye on the gap between these top 2 and the 39 of Lake and Herndon, just to make sure what the evolution of that car's run is going to be like. Jacob Lopez in the 50 came in early as well and gained quite a few spots here. Moved up to 4th, kind of ahead of this hornet's nest of cars, I think.
Yeah, so we got like 3 different groups to watch out for pretty much. We've got the 16 and the 3 as well as the 50, 18, and 92 who all came in on lap 18. And we've got a group of cars that came in around lap 20. Drivers like Shauna Everett and Laken Herndon, and then we've got drivers like Jack Gino who waited the longest to pit and have the tire advantage and should be faster over the long run than these guys, but we'll have to see. Shout out to Cooper Spur. He's having a pretty good run right here back in 12th. Kobe Hollenbeck, 15th. He's been doing a solid job for Martin Swain Race Team in their first full season. We haven't really talked much about Kobe Hollenbeck, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for basically a brand new race team. That means he's staying out of trouble. He had a couple of incidents at the start of the year, but he's had some pretty good runs, and he's kept the car clean for the most part. So I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's been doing a great job this year. He's been doing better this year than he did at Columbia last year. And we've got a bit of a hornet's nest right here, as Shauna Everett's going to take the 4th spot away from Lopez. Lopez is going to bleed spots on the outside. Dearman, Barry, and Billy Smith are all going to get past him.
Yeah, they were kind of 2x2 pushing each other there into turn 1. And it was a bit of a mess there, but they've all sorted it out right now. But Lopez is definitely looking a little slow right now. But here comes Barry and Billy Smith on Zach Dearman again. That's going to shuffle the 18 back out to the outside.
He was able to find a hole back in, so didn't lose too much there as he gets behind the 88 of Billy Smith. 16 and the 3 have still been running nose to tail. Brian has not really tried to make a move. I mean, it's kind of hard to make a move when it's just 2 of you. You're just kind of in the draft there. Very hard to kind of get that momentum and make the pass. We saw Buchanan do it on lap number 2. But especially if you've got more laps on your tires, it is not easy to do that. Although Brian's trying to set something up going into turn number 3, and he's going to try and prove me wrong immediately as we go into turn number 3. Brian to the inside of Taps for the race lead. Side by side, just past halfway here at Indy, and he's going to have the lane. But if Taps can get a good run off the top, then maybe he'll have an answer back. Brian will clear him, though, off of turn number 4, and the points leader has inherited the lead here at Indianapolis.
Yeah, passing at Indianapolis is all about timing that run. Usually, you would want both a push and a toe, but if you can time your run right, it seems like you can really make a move into turn 3 here. That seems to be the kind of prime passing position right now. And that little battle between the 16 and the 3 gave Lake and Herden an extra second, effectively going down from about 3.1 to 2.2 seconds back on the top two there. So
This group has been closing in quite considerably as well. It was 5.9 seconds a couple laps ago, but now it's down to 5.1. So, I mean, these guys, of course, have a lot more draft. Well, be careful. Buchanan went up the track there. That was a bit close with Jack Gino again. Those two have been racing each other pretty hard, which is not really what you want, considering those are the two cars that have the freshest tires of these leaders. So, not necessarily the best thing to do, but they didn't really gain on the leaders that last time by, neither the 39 nor this pack back here, so they're pretty even, it appears, after they were able to gain some time, probably from the 16 and the 3 going side by side.
Brian's keeping an arm's length from the 16 here. Taps isn't right on his bumper like Brian was on the 16 a few laps ago, so 3 seems to be a very strong car right now.
Yeah, these are the kinds of tracks that Patriot Racing Incorporated excel at. The super speedways and the big ovals, they're always a threat to win there. And it's not surprising to see that. Of course, George Bryan has a wealth of experience as well in stock car racing, so this is the kind of track that will play into his advantages as well. Corbin Taps is always a threat at the big tracks as well. So, I mean, it's not surprising to see these two up here near the front, especially considering that they have run well on the bigger ovals. In the past, the 16 got a huge run out of turn number 2. We might see him try to pull that same move on George Bryan that Bryan pulled on him a couple of laps ago, but it looks like he's going to stay tucked in going into turn number 3.
Yeah, just choosing to stay behind the 3 for now, but he's now in that position I was talking about, where you just kind of want to sit on, the car ahead of you, the bumper of the car ahead of you, looking around here, trying to make a move potentially into 1, but not gonna do it for now, at least.
Yep, they still run 1-2, and I did want to check. The 79 is in turn number 2 right now. These two are in turn 1, so it is possible that they'll end up catching the 79. Don't know if it'll be before the next pit cycle or not, but she could play a factor in this race. But we'll see. Laken Herndon is not necessarily losing time to these guys all by himself, but he's not really gaining either, and the same goes for 4th place, the one in the 57, as they're now going side by side for 4th, which is going to hurt their chances of catching up to them. And then we got this pack that goes back to 11th, and then we got a separate pack here in 12th. JB Chanot is back here, and this is not what Chanot needed. We saw her inside the top 10 earlier trying to run down Tim Berry for that wild card, but Berry is in 4th right now, and JB Chanot just lost a ton of spots on the outside, so she is outside of the top 15. So for that second wild card,
17th or so, I think now, for the 29.
She's in 18th.
Yeah, that's many positions down on the 1.
Yeah, that's definitely not something that Chanot wants to see here. That was a bit of a disappointment, as she got pretty close to catching Berry, but just did not have a good pit stop. Ended up losing a bunch of spots. Billy Smith going to try and move into the top 5 here. Jack Gino's going to try and make the pass on the 18. He's finally starting to work his way through this pack, but again, by now, I don't know if that tire advantage is all that great.
It's going to be tight between the 316 and the 79, I think. But Brian's pulled away.
Yeah, Brian's opened up a gap here on Corbin Taps in the number 16 car, and then 2.5 seconds back, we got Laken Herndon, so it's going to come down to this last cycle of pit stops, and I really think that the 16 and the 3 are definitely on the right strategy here, unless maybe these teams will try and wait as long as they can for their second stop to try and take less fuel when they do come in. They could attempt that, and that could gain them some track position. Someone like Laken Herndon can maybe try that to get back into the running, but then you got to really be careful with your fuel and make sure that you've got enough to make it.
Short fueling is definitely risky at a track like this, because if you start running out of fuel, it is very tough to kind of coast your way home at this track. if you start running out of fuel, you're kind of just screwed until you get to pit lane again.
Yeah, but I think if you're any of these other cars other than the 3 and the 16, you gotta kind of send a flyer on something like that if you want to try and win this race. Because with the 3 and the 16 having the first pits, I feel like that undercut was very powerful and got them a lot of track position. I mean, you've seen Jacob Lopez. His car is definitely not, I would say, top 10 speed today, but he's been able to hang into the top 10 because of that strategy. And Corbin Tapp's going to try and look on the bottom of George Bryan, but did not have enough momentum and backed off a little bit in the corner. But we're starting to enter the fuel window where you can make it from the end, but these guys have not come in yet.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody tries to do that. We're at the beginning of the fuel window, but these cars all have a few extra laps of fuel kind of to play around with. So you're kind of in this window now where I think anyone can really make a stop from here, I think. Kind of just a matter of when you pull the trigger and take that final stop. Obviously, for the 3 and 16, they kind of have a bit of a hard cap here at lap 36 or so. But all these other cars that, well, outside of Lopez, Fearson, and Fearson, Lopez, and Kobe Hollenbeck as well, outside of those 5, everyone else can kind of choose where to come in. They can go all the way to, I think, about lap 39 to 40 or so, I feel like, at
Maybe
the most.
we could maybe see some cars try and undercut here. Oh, here comes the 16, once again looking to the inside, but still not enough momentum. But they are catching up to Alnita Kim, so she might get in their way, but it's possible that they come in and pit before they catch the 79. Oh, and the 16's under once again in turn number 1, and this time he's going to make it stick. Side by side between the 16 and the 3. Corbin Taps to the inside, but the 3 is hanging on the outside lane, and Brian's going to drive around him on the outside at Indy. How about that?
And that's something we don't see often, and I think that kind of shows
he got.
how strong. I think that shows just how strong the 3 is as in terms of handling, because it's not easy to be able to slingshot around the outside like that, and that's given him a massive advantage. A couple of at least 4 to 5 car lengths.
I think something else that's helping him is that he's sniffing the draft of that 79 of Alnita Kim.
That too.
And so that's kind of helping him pull away from the 16 here. Also, the 39 is starting to close in on them as they were battling. Oh, but the 79 is going to be to his detriment in the corners though, because she's going to hold him up. Taps needs to catch up to the back of this 3 car before he gets past the 79, I feel like, if he wants a really good chance here. But they're probably going to come in this time.
Yeah. We'll see what the 39 does, because viably you could come in with both of them here and potentially just kind of run with them on the same strategy, because they're not that far back.
Yeah, Herndon's gotten to just about 2 seconds back.
Yeah, and they're going to get held up here.
Here they come.
There they go, yep. Pulling in. We'll see if the 39 stays out. He will.
He will stay out. And I would say don't rule out a caution yet, because, you know,
that's true.
It is Indy. We've seen some chaos happen here before. In fact, that actually happened in the Minoan race at about this stage of the race. Actually, what happened was the leader got crashed in that one. But we could definitely still see some chaos. That's always possible here at Indy. But last year's race went caution-free, and this year we only had the caution early, but 55 very slow through the corner. I was almost worried if he had a mechanical failure. Yeah. But it looks like he's fine.
Here we go. 18 as well? 18 as well.
That's everyone that came in, plus the 9 car of Ryan Silva, who has damage. And the 3 is already out. Long stop for Corbin Taps. That is going to hurt him. He's got front end damage. He has damage on the front end.
Yeah, he does. Did those two run into each other? I feel like those two were the only cars on pit lane there.
He does have some rear end damage. They ran into each other in the pits.
Oh my goodness.
And that probably held up Corbin Taps and cost him on that pit stop.
Yeah. Now did that hold up Brian too much though? I don't think they needed to fix anything. I don't think they needed to fix anything on the 3.
Yeah,
so
we've seen drivers with that kind of damage be able to keep going afterwards. So I think Brian is fine. I think what this does is unless we get some shenanigans or a late caution, I feel like this basically seals the win for Brian.
watch out.
But if Flake and Herndon tries to pull that on him, maybe not. But Herndon will come in this time.
Gino stays
Gino
out.
is staying out. That makes sense. He was the last one.
He was
among the last to pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him
that
and
makes
Buchanan.
sense. That's true, yeah. So the cars that stayed out long last time are staying out long this time as well, with only a few exceptions, it seems.
Yeah, it appears so. There you see the one car of Tim Berry exiting the pits with the 79 in front of him.
The 79.
And
the
he's going to pass him on the
back
access
out,
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim
Yeah.
I think Kim just let him by.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, I think. Watch out! The one in the
Bit of a
15 kind
swerve
of
there.
trying to blend in. Yeah, the one was kind of trying to blend into the outside there, but the 15 was on his outside.
Here's Zach Dearman, kind of blended in with this pack here. A lot of these guys still have to come in and pit, and here they come. Here comes Gino. And Barry's actually going to jump the 16 of Corbin Taps because of that little incident in the pits.
Yeah, that should be a net third for Tim Berry, I think. Here comes Herndon. Brian
And the
is
three
well
is
ahead.
already well ahead. He's going to have a massive lead once this is all done.
See what the
Herndon and Billy
39.
Smith
Ooh,
racing each other for second. Here comes Barry and Taps on the outside.
yeah, those two are gonna have a lot of momentum. We'll see what happens here, because the ones should get around both of them.
Oh, he just will.
Emphasis, yeah, just. And Herndon's
So it's
gonna
gonna be a
drop a
Chevy-
few spots.
It's going to be a Chevy 1, 2, 3, 4 here in the closing stages, and look at the massive lead that George Bryan has. This is one of the biggest leads we've seen all year. See what the gap is across the line, back to the one of Barry. Of course, a lot of those cars were in the pits at the time, so it appears that we're going to have to cycle them out before we can really tell what that gap is.
Yeah.
Gino is... He's got a whole straightaway lead. He has basically a whole straightaway lead on everyone else. Gino back here, he's actually going to gain quite a few spots.
Quite a few spots. I think he might have short fuel there. He might have taken a little bit less fuel, maybe half a can less than everyone else. That might have helped a little bit.
Oh, way
Whoa,
up
never
the
mind. He's
track
gonna
and
run
into the
well.
wall.
He's gonna hit the wall. Well, that's not what you want, though.
Yeah, now he has damage.
Damage to the right side, yeah. Well, it was looking good for Gino, but completely made a hash of that turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Checking on throughout the pack here. And not a whole lot going on. Charlie McCarran appears to have waited a little bit longer for her final pit stop, so maybe she'll be able to gain some more spots out of it. But as you can see, the gap between Brian and Barry is almost 5 seconds, which, to be fair, Barry gained time on... Barry did gain time on George Bryan. It's just that Lakin Herndon had a slow pit stop, and Corbin Taps had that damage. So really, it's Brian's race to lose at this point. He has a massive lead, and unless a caution comes out here within the last 10 laps, I think he's golden.
Yeah. I mean, the one can start catching, but it's not easy to catch 5 seconds within 10 laps at this track. Not unless the 3 runs out of fuel, which I don't think fuel is going to be an issue now with everyone taking their last stop.
Barry did take a chunk of time out on that last lap, but I just don't think that's enough with only 9 laps to go in the race. I think they're going to need a caution in order to catch up to Brian. And how big is this for Brian? He's already got a 50-point lead. He's about to add on another win, a second of the season. I mean, Corbin Taps is still up here inside the top 5, so we won't gain a ton on Taps, but drivers like Tajima, actually Tajima's in the top 10 too. We haven't really mentioned his name all day, but he's found himself back up here.
Yeah, Tajima's kind of just been hanging around 15th or so most of the race. But that last pit stop seems to have propelled him up to the top 10 here. Might try to take 9th away from Buchanan.
And this is the kind of stuff that Tajima's been doing all year. That's why he's second in points, so can't be too surprised about that. Charlie McCarran, who was near the back of the field for most of the race, still has damage on it.
Yeah,
it looks like she actually came in. She came in a second time, it appears.
Came in a second time, yeah. That was a stop and go. That's odd.
Yeah, so that's actually not good for McCarran. I thought she had maybe waited long enough to pit last and ended up cycling up there. But that was a unscheduled pit stop for the 85 car. Barry is looking very fast here in this final run, but again, I just don't see him catching up to the 3.
Not without
with
a caution,
the massive lead that he's built up. But he sure is trying.
He's broken away from everybody. He's broken away from everybody else.
He is trying. He is gaining about 3 or 4 He's gaining about 3 or 4 tenths a lap, but again, there's only 7 to go. I don't think he's going to get there.
There's only 7 to go, yeah. He needs to start catching by almost a second a lap to even have a chance, I think.
JB Chanot back in 16th right now. Again, keeping an eye on that wild card race. Shauna Everett currently running in 8th. Remember, she is 12th in points. She was just barely outside of the top 10. It's very possible that she jumps back in here. We've also got Zach Dearman running in 11th, who is 10th in points. So again, that's all relevant to the wildcard battle because the 18 has a win and the 57 has a win. So
yeah, where's the 27? That's the one I want to see. Holly Martin hasn't really been a factor in this race.
There she is. 24th.
That might be the car falling out of the top 10 here, but we'll have to see.
So it's possible that both of our wildcard drivers are both down near the back, and it looks like Taps is losing some spots on the outside, maybe lost some speed off of that 16 with that damage still there.
Yeah.
He's plummeting through the field.
McCarron's gonna being a little bit of a pick here. Go ahead.
Yeah, shout out to Jacob Lopez. Again, we've seen this car does not have a ton of speed in it, but that strategy, getting him on the right strategy here, and you get a good driver behind the wheel, he's probably going to walk out of this with a top 10. He's going to be looking pretty good here. So definitely a shout out to that whole 50 team for really playing the strategy angle right, even maybe if they didn't quite have a car to compete for a solid position here. But they're going to get it anyways, it seems.
And look out for Tajima as well, making the pass on the 16 for 8th, maybe looking at 7th place at the end of this race.
Oh, he is looking for 7th?
Inside of the 50. Not quite.
Wasn't close enough.
No, yeah. It looks like maybe even 6th place if Tajima can get past Shauna Everett there. It would be a pretty good day at the very least for the 99, trying to minimize the kind of gap that Brian can pull out on the rest of the field in the points.
Of course, the regular season champion gets a 25-point bonus for winning the regular season championship, so that's going to be very important come the chase reset. Drivers like Corbin Taps and Akiya Tajima need to stay within striking distance of Brian, but no one's within striking distance of him for this win. Barry is 3 seconds back, and he's got a few drivers behind him, but I mean, Jack Gino has recovered from that hit against the wall pretty well. He's still up here in 4th, so still looking like a good run here for the 81 car, but he's outside the top 20 in points, so he needs a little bit more than that. He might get 3rd here on the 88. This car is flying. I think if this run was a little bit longer, he's definitely going to have a chance at 2nd, but obviously Brian, 3 seconds up. They're not going to catch him, so
yeah.
At least not without something happening to the 3.
Whatever the damage is on that 81, it seemingly made him faster, so
tactical damage. He did it on purpose.
That's true.
Well, here we go. 3 laps to go. George Bryan, the oldest full-time driver in the field at 47 years old. But you wouldn't guess it with the absolute whooping he's been putting on the field this season. Just the absolute model of consistency for this 3 car. And even after getting into it with Corbin Taps in the pit lane, which of course we will have shown on the bottom right of the screen right after that happened, he has been just he hasn't been super dominant. He's just been suffocating everyone with consistency, like Matt Kenseth style. But he's about to get win number 2 if he could just hold on for a couple more laps.
That's one more than Kenseth did in 2003.
Yeah, you're right. Gino's trying to find a way around this 1 car. They're closing in pretty fast on the 3 car, but again, I just don't think there's enough time. Oh, they're under 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah. If there were like 3 additional laps of this race, I think.
Maybe.
Or even 2 laps. That would have made things really interesting, yeah. But now Gino's starting to kind of looking at 2nd now. That's going to hurt both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Herndon with a solid run in 4th place. He's going to continue his climb up the standings. Maybe he'll end up being a factor in that top 10 battle if he keeps this up. Billy Smith's looking very good. Here comes Tajima for 6th, like you said. Getting past Shauna Everett in the 57, and he will take that spot. Just a very good closing of the race here by the 99, but the white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go for George Bryan. He doesn't have to push it too hard. And it looks like he's going to get it. 1.3 seconds. I think you're right. If there was 2 or 3 laps, this would have been very interesting to see if Barry or Gino would have been able to get past this 3 car, but just not enough time for these two.
Yeah.
Bryan opened up too big of a lead for them to be able to catch him.
Yeah, I think Bryan's also holding back a little bit, just kind of pacing himself, but at the same time, the one in 81 have been kind of going full throttle the rest of this kind of run, and would have been very interesting to see. But just a few more corners left for George Bryan here.
Yep, going through the final corner one last time. George Bryan in the number 3 car already had a 50-point lead entering this race. It's going to be even more now, and he's looking very much like the class of the field here in LSCI. Checkered flag in the air. George Bryan is going to win the Hoosier 500 at the Brickyard. Tim Berry is going to get a very crucial 2nd place finish. Jack Gino rounds out the podium in the 81. Lakin Herndon, Billy Smith, Akia Tajima, Shauna Everett, Jacob Lopez, and Nathan Buchanan, and Zach Dearman round out the top 10. That was a great drive by George Bryan, and he proved right there why he is the points leader. This is the 2nd win for him and Patriot Racing this season. The first one came at Mosport, and that of course being a road course, some of the same skills to the road courses do apply here at Indianapolis, and combine that with a car that's well known to be good on the big ovals, and you've just got that combination. But Tim Berry got it all the way down to about 0.7 of a second before the race was over. And again, if there were a couple more laps, we might have had a furious fight for the win between Bryan, Berry, and Gino. But the 3 just executed the strategy perfectly and managed to hold on, give himself a big enough lead to where he didn't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, and a strong day overall for the Patriot cars. Bryan, of course, taking the win, but Billy Smith as well finishing in the top 5. And Nathan Buchanan brought it home in 9th as well. So saw just how strong that team is kind of as a whole in at these kinds of tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking down here towards the bottom of the standings, got 2 cars finishing off the lead lap, but they're two pretty big ones. Charlie McCarron and Alnita Kim. McCarron has not had a good last few races. Of course, flipped over at Denver, flipped over at Pocono, and then had victory ripped from her at Evergreen. She still got a 4th place out of it, so it wasn't that bad, but, the heartbreak as well. And now another bad run for the 85. 7th in points. She could fall outside of the top 10. Alnita Kim in 5th place. She could be in danger of. She's got more of a points cushion on the cutoff, but she could be in danger of falling down there, especially with so many cutoff drivers finishing here inside the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
You have Shauna Everett, Billy Smith, Zach Dearman, and even guys like Kate Summers and Jake Sidney finishing just inside the top 20. They're going to gain a lot of points on drivers like McCarron and Kim.
And I'd mention Holly Martin as well. Only finished 22nd here, and she is 9th in points, barely above the cut line too, with a lot of drivers behind her finishing ahead. That might also shake things up.
So what I'm most interested in for the points here, the cutoff drivers that did the best here today, Shauna Everett and Zach Dearman, of course, they both have wins. So it's possible that we don't have anybody with a win below the top 10 until you get down to drivers like Tim Berry and JB Chanel. So Chanel might be in the 2nd wild card right now. She managed to finish 15th here, definitely far ahead of Karina Willis Calloway, who of course got that damage early, finished back in 32nd. So I believe both of our wild card drivers are going to be well below the cutoff, although Berry finishing 2nd is going to gain a lot on drivers like Vinny Schulz and Kobe Hollenbeck. So he could definitely get himself back in the top 20 in points, it seems, and it's looking pretty good for Tim Berry, especially since he's kind of got onto a run of form as of late. But this point situation is definitely getting very interesting with just 4 races left in the regular season.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the way Barry ran in this race, I think it's fairly realistic to say that he's going to be in the top 20 as well. Jack Gino as well, one position ahead of him in points, is probably going to vault up there potentially, kind of trying to see an outside shot at trying to make the top 10 here. It's interesting to see a lot of the drivers kind of a little bit further down in points did really well today when it comes to the chase battle. Drivers that weren't inside the top 10 but are kind of there and thereabouts in the battle without a win all did really well. You saw Lakin Herndon as well, of course, drove a really good race. Mentioned Jack Gino and Tim Berry as well. Obviously, Nathan Buchanan as well finished in the top 10.
James Harvin.
Oh yeah, James Harvin as well in the 45 finished 11th here. He's 18th in points as well. So I think we might see a bit of a shakeup in terms of the points here. It'll be very interesting to see how the points shake up after this race.
Shout out to Jamie Kirby, by the way, 14th today. He's gotten quite a few good runs out of this 70 car, so good to see him up there once again. He's actually going to pass Darren Walker in points, so he won't be the last full-time driver down there anymore. Of course, Walker having another bad run, finishing down in 30th. Just a bad run for Honda as a whole. All of the Hondas are down here, except for Cooper Spur in 16th. Honestly, it seemed like Cooper Spur has been the best Honda for more races than should be reasonably expected from Cooper Spur. But, not to take away from a great run. He had a solid top 20 car. He was in the top 20 the whole time, so he had a great run. But you definitely got to ask some questions about kind of how Honda's doing here, because they've been having one heck of a struggle, especially after the Lumen 500. And definitely got to be concerned about them, that whole manufacturer as a whole. But regardless, that was an interesting race. Russia. And once again, congratulations to George Bryan. He definitely, I believe, led the most laps as well in this race. So he might be looking at close to max points. Don't think he didn't win the pole, though. That was Herndon. So he's not going to get max points, but he's going to get pretty close to it. Next week, we're going to be headed to Kentucky, and that's going to be a very fun race to do. Of course, we know Kentucky in LSCI is absolutely chaotic. Expect a lot of lead changes in that race.
Yeah, and with Kentucky, of course, we'll be going back to kind of that 1.5 mile speedway again. I don't think we've been to one since Chicagoland, I think. So obviously heading back to a speedway oval, that's going to mean a lot of exciting racing as well. Lots of passing, I think, expected at a track like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of the previous Kentucky races that we've had have had 20 or more lead changes. And of course, last year, Tyler Landry won that race with a 3-wide move on the final restart. So expecting a lot of exciting moments here at Kentucky, especially with all this chase drama that's been brewing up. That's going to be a fun one for sure. Thank you, Rasha, for joining me in the booth here today. And one last congratulations to George Bryan and Patriot Racing Incorporated. And on behalf of Rasha, this is Brendan Wilmington from the Left Turn Network, signing out. Here are your point standings after race number 16 of 30, which will be on your screen right now.